guys, welcome back. Today we're gonna do another national park map. So this one's gonna be a little shaky, and I do apologize for that. Today I am not in my own car. I'm still in a Bronco Sport, but it's not my car. It is my dad's. Mine went for service for some recalls, like software update kind of things last week, and they found something else wrong with it, and so that's under warranty, so they're fixing it. But they had to wait for the part, so it has now been over a week. So I've been using my dad's car. He has the loaner. So unfortunately, most of my filming equipment is in my car at the shop, at the dealership. So I'm not using my usual phone stand, but we're gonna make do, but it's gonna be shaky. So I think I'll do a video about my car. It'll be like a short video about what's up with it. Probably this week as a bonus video, as a thank you for your patience with me last week. So I'm in the back seat of his car. He was kind enough to let me use it. The loaner that they gave us is a 2024 Edge. This thing's a tank, so he was like, you can take mine. So let's see. This one is Cuyahoga Valley. Did we do that? We did Acadia. Yeah, we did Cuyahoga. Let's do Shenandoah. So Shenandoah here, as you can see, it's actually pretty long and not very wide. So this takes up like 2 whole pages, and this atlas is quite large, as you can probably guess. So let's talk about the Shenandoah basics. Actually, I'm gonna sneeze first, hang on. We got lucky, there's a warning for those sneezes. Usually there's not a warning. Alrighty. So up here we have our Shenandoah basics. So just some general information that's important to note. So there's the phone number, the website, and there is a $30 per car entrance fee. As of when this was published, might have changed. Lodging options include Big Meadows Lodge, Skyline Resort, Lewis Mountain. And camping includes Big Meadows, which you do have to reserve, Matthews Arm, Lewis Mountain, and Loft Mountain. So, Shenandoah is very popular. However, it is a bit of a drive from some places like Washington, D.C., only 90 minutes, which isn't too bad. Driving Shenandoah is all about 105 Mile Skyline Drive, popular old rag trailhead located mid-park along the eastern boundary, is the primary outlier. Here we have why visit Shenandoah. Waterfalls, hiking, and the Appalachian Trail runs through Shenandoah. Horseback riding, including trail rides. Rock climbing, they do have a website for that. And top-notch fall foliage. And here are some Shenandoah favorites, according to our author. easy hikes: Stony Man, Black Rock Summit, Fraser Discovery, Limberlost, and Hickerson Hollow. Moderate hikes include Passamaquoddy, Mary's Rock, Compton Peak, Hawksbill Mountain, Dark Hollow Falls. Strenuous hikes include Rip Rap / Wildcat Loop, Little Devil Stairs, and Doyle's River Falls. And extreme hikes includes Old Rag. Best views include Hazeltop Ridge, The Point, Pinnacles, and Thoroughfare Mountain. And this gives you the mile markers where you can find them. What you need to know about Shenandoah. Visitation peaks in October for fall foliage, subsides for winter, and begins to pick up in March. With heavy weekend visitation, this is another good park to plan a midweek trip. There's nearly unlimited lodging and camping around the park, but in-park accommodations are fairly priced and save a ton of time. Let's get closer so I'm not so shaky. Like, I promise you, I'm not that shaky. It's just this mount I'm using is awful. The only problem is how difficult it is to show up and secure a campsite or room, particularly on weekends. However, you can receive twice daily, first come, first served campsite availability by texting that code to that number. Starting in 2022, a day-use ticket is required to hike Old Rag to curb overcrowding and overuse. It's a good idea. Old Rag is demanding, requiring a fair amount of scrambling. Oh boy. Wear shoes with good grip. Do the 9.2-mile loop. You'll enjoy the more leisurely return trip along Weekly Hollow Fire Road. Rapid and Camp, Hoover's Summer White House, is interesting, but it's only accessible during ranger guided tours. You can hike to it anytime via Mill Pond Trail. How much time do you have? So this is the recommendations by the author of this book on what to see based on like how much time you have to explore the park. Let me pause real fast. We're just gonna go barehanded and not use the mount, and hopefully it's not as bad. If you're here to hike Old Rag, reserve a ticket and get after it. It's somewhere between a half and full day activity for most visitors. Everyone else should head to Skyline Drive. Focus most of your time around Skyland and Big Meadows. If you have 2 days, Shenandoah may be best known for peeping leaves, but the hiking here is no slouch. Just remember, almost all of the trails originating from Skyline Drive descend into hollows and runs, and you will have to hike back out. It means you're gonna go downhill. Just don't forget that you have to go back uphill to get out. And if you have 3 or possibly more days with a little more time, it's a good idea to look into joining a ranger tour, a rapid and camp, booking a trail ride or a rock climbing lesson, or else there'll be plenty of great hiking opportunities left. I can already tell you this is not my best video, but it's okay. So let's start up at the most northern point here. See, Shenandoah is just so oddly shaped. It's very neat though, very beautiful. So up here you have the Front Royal entrance station, and this begins our road through Shenandoah. A little further south of the entrance station we have the Shenandoah Valley Overlook and the Dickey Ridge Visitor Center. Another overlook is just a little farther south of that, the Signal Knob Overlook and the Goonie Run Overlook. If I just zoom in, that way you can maybe hear me better. That's better. Not for the shaking though. Up here we have Low Gap, Common Gap, Jenkins Gap Overlook, and Hog Wallow Flats Overlook. What a name. So this is only, of course, if you follow Skyline Drive, which is the thick red line here that runs all the way through the park. I'm so sorry for how bad this is shaking. I should have like stabilizers on, but I guess they're not working right now. Or they said, sis, you're on your own. I think it's from the car vibrating. Because the car is on. It's 106 degrees out. I'm not turning off the car. I will die, even though I'm in the shade. Alright. So following Hog Hollow Flats Overlook. Get to about mile 15 here. There's some hiking trails that come off. So you can go check out the peak at 3,000 feet above sea level. There's a little bit of just drive time between here. I mean, not really like any pull-offs except for the hiking trails. But that's okay, because once you get down to this point, you get to the Rangeview Overlook, just shy of 3,000 feet. And the Gimmiet Ridge Overlook. This is Hogback Mountain area. And there is Gimlet Ridge. That must be what this is, Gimlet. Just south of where the road turns west, you have the Little Dell Stairs. So if you continue to follow the road, there's the Hogback Overlook, or Hogback Mountain. You will find another stopping point, Matthews Arm Campground. Just south of that is Elk Wallow Campground as well, or I guess more of a stopping place than anything. After that, once again, you can just kind of head straight south and get to Jeremy's Run Overlook. So there's a lot of pull-off overlook spots in Shenandoah. If you've ever been to like the Smoky Mountains or the Rocky Mountains, it's all kind of like that. South of Jeremy's Run, we have Beams Gap parking. So you can check that out, and you have a parking area for it. Heading further south, you come up on the Thornton Gap entrance station. So this is a road that crosses perpendicularly through the park at about the middle point. This is a tunnel area, somewhere around right here. And this is where also you will find Mary's Rock. Right there. The tunnel clearance is 12 feet 8 inches. And there is parking for the overlook as well. So if you are taking a motorhome, just be aware of how tall your vehicle is. Hazel Mountain Overlook is just south of that, as well as the Meadow Springs parking. So that way you can get out and take some more pictures. As we head further south, there is a switchback here. Very tight turn. And that right at the edge of that turn is the Pinnacles Overlook. One of the top views in the park. As you can see, it gets a little dicey as you make your way to the Jewel Hollow Overlook. But eventually you can go south again and hit the Pinnacles. Pinnacles looks to be the highest part, but I might be wrong. But that's at 3,350 feet. Heading further south again along some back and forth there on the road, you'll find the Stony Man Overlook, as well as Hughes River Gap is down there, so you can overlook that. And here's the parking for Little Stony Man. But here's where it is. So this is where we get to the highest point here. The Stony Man is 4,011 feet above sea level, and across from it is the Hemlock Springs Overlook. And right down here is where you can find Pinnacles Peak, which is at 3,400 feet. South of the Hemlock Springs Overlook, you get to the Thoroughfare Mountain Overlook. So plenty of places to stop and just take it all in. And once you continue on south, you will hit another tight turn there where you can reach the highest point on the drive at 3,680 feet. This area is called Skyland. So that is where there is a resort that you can lodge in. And we are almost halfway. So, south of Skyland, which you can kind of pull off of the Parkway for, there is camping for White Oak Canyon and Limberlost. And just south of that, we have the Timber Hollow Overlook, the Crescent Rock Overlook, and parking for Hawksbill Gap. A little off the beaten trail here, just south of the parking for Hawksbill Gap, you find Hawksbill Mountain. It's at 4,051 feet, so a little bit taller than Stony Man by about 40 feet. It's the highest peak in the park, Hawksbill Peak, and you can hike to it. There is a trail. Probably pretty rough there. Yeah, it's considered moderate. Yes, I can imagine so. The parking lot's at 3,365 feet, so you do have to go up another 700 feet in elevation between the parking lot and the top of the mountain. So after you've hiked or simply looked at Hawksbill Peak, you can get back in your car and head south again to Old Rag Overlook and the upper Hawksbill parking, which is at 3,630 feet, so you only have to go 400 feet to get here in elevation. However, it does look longer. If you keep following the road here, you'll get to Spitler Knoll Overlook, and we start to go back down in size in these mountains. We have the Franklin's Cliff Overlook, the Fisher's Gap Overlook, and then you get down to the Bird Visitor Center at Big Meadows, which is at 3,500 feet. Dark Hollow is across from the Visitor Center. This is where the falls are. You can find parking for it just before the Visitor Center. And just after the Visitor Center, you can find Tanner's Ridge Overlook. And this right here is Tanner's Ridge. Let's swap hands, shall we? Give my shoulders a bit of a rest. So, after you've had your fill of the falls and the visitor center, you can head on down further south to the Millam Gap, where there's parking, and you can take a separate road out here to Rapid and Camp. I think it's more of a hike, I think that's what they said, but apparently very worth it. Just south of that is the overlook for Naked Creek. And continuing further south, out here we have Grindstone Mountain at 2,850 feet. Further south, we have mile marker 55, and you can find an overlook for The Point, as well as parking for Bear Fence Mountain. Here's Bear Fence Mountain right here. And that can be found between Booton's Gap, Bush Mountain, and Lewis Mountain. So, Bareface Mountain is one of the key points to go visit, and it looks like you're pretty much on it. When you park there, you're not far at all. So Lewis Mountain has some amenities, camping, lodging, restrooms, things like that. So after you've had your fill of Bareface Mountain and perhaps slept overnight at Lewis Mountain, you can head on back south to the Oaks Overlook. Or you can also overlook Piney Mountain, which is quite small. Compared to the Oaks Overlook is at 3,125 feet. Piney Mountain's only less than 2,000 feet tall. That's still quite large. Further south of the Oaks Overlook, we have the South River Overlook, which is a nice little stopping point here at South River. And southeast of that is Saddleback Mountain. You can probably view it from there if I had to take a guess. You can follow the trail further south and eventually come up on the Swift Run Gap entrance station. As you can see, we're going down in elevation still. Things are now in the 2000s instead of the 3000s. Past the Swift Run Gap entrance station is High Top Mountain. They have a parking lot for you to be able to check out and hike to High Top Mountain, which is at 3,587 feet. And after that is the Swift Run Overlook. At 2,710 feet, Swift Run Overlook is just somewhat below, almost 1,000 feet below High Top Mountain. Smith Roach Gap is located just a little further south of the Swift Run Overlook, and just south of that is the Bacon Hollow Overlook. And then you come across mile marker 70, and that's when things start to get kind of tight again. A bunch more overlooks coming up our way, as you can see. So we have right over here, following Bacon Hollow Overlook, we have Eaton Hollow Overlook, Rocky Mount that you can hike to out here, Simmons Gap, and here's where we get to the cacophony of overlooks. We have Loft Mountain, then we have a switchback that takes you to 2 Mile Run Overlook, then we have Brown Mountains Overlook, Rocky Top Overlook, and even more overlooks. Over here we have the Loft Mountain Wayside, which is across the road from Loft Mountain. There is a place to use the restroom and grab some grub. And then you can keep on going to the overlook for Big Run, as well as Doyle's River. Down by Doyle's River, we have Doyle's Falls. So that is a good place to stop and park so you can hike to the falls. Always love a good waterfall in Appalachia. They're just so beautiful. Once you've had your fill of the Loft Mountain area and the Doyle's Falls, you can hop back in your vehicle and head further south. There's parking for Brown's Gap, Jones Run, and Black Rock Summit. Getting back into some higher numbers here, 3,300 feet. And then after a very interesting jaunt to the east, we have the overlook for Trayfoot Mountain. And we just keep on Skyline Drive here. Come on, focus a little better on the words. Following Trayfoot Mountain, you're kind of secluded for a while until you get to Rip Rap Trail. further south of that is the overlook for Rip Rap, as well as the overlook for Mormons River, or I guess Mormons River Overlook, and Cremora Lake Overlook. Between Mormons River and Cremora Lake overlooks, we have the Wildcat Ridge parking area. That's another hiking trail. And south of all of that is the Turk Gap parking lot to see Turk Mountain at nearly 3,000 feet. I'm getting down to the bottom here. So south of Turk Gap parking lot, we have the overlook for the Sawmill Run. And then you're barely within the boundaries of the park until you reach Calf Mountain Overlook. And same thing, Beagle's Gap. That road is barely within the park boundary. We have an overlook from McCormick Gap. And then eventually, you reach the Southside Visitor Center Rockfish Gap. That connects you back to the Blue Ridge Parkway. This is the start or end of Skyline Drive, depending on the direction you're going. And this is the entirety of Shenandoah. I hope the audio is okay. I do apologize again for all the shaking. My foot is now falling asleep. If this video doesn't do it for you, I will gladly do another. I'll do it again, and keep an eye out for another video this week. Sorry, this is a short one. Alright, hydrate or dihydrate, my friends. I'll see you